Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. This is your reaction to Ralf Rangnick's press conference ahead of Manchester United's game against Southampton tomorrow at Old Trafford. Now, like I usually do, I'm going to give you all the questions he was asked in the press conference, and I'm going to give you all his responses to them questions. So anyway, let's delve into it. So this was the first question that was asked to Ralf Rangnick. Good afternoon, Ralf. How are you and the team feeling ahead of this one, given the excellent first half performance in midweek and Southampton coming into this full of confidence? So Rangnick's response was, yes, we are fully aware that this will be a difficult one. Obviously, I watched the game at Spurs during the week and they really deserved to win. They tactically played on a very high level and this will be a challenge for us. But I'm sure that we're up for that challenge. We will prepare the team again today for what is on and what we have to do for tomorrow's game. We have to win the game, that's for sure. We are fully aware that we did well both halves against Middlesbrough and Burnley, but now against Southampton, and the same will be true on Tuesday against Brighton. We need top performances for the whole game. So that was Rangnick's first response to the first question. That's a good response, by the way, from Rangnick. So this was the second question. This is regarding Ralf Hasenhüttl, who is a Southampton manager. So it says, you know Ralf Hasenhüttl very well, but would you say he's one of the best coaches on the continent? The job that he's done with Southampton, but also with yourself at RB Leipzig. Rangnick's response was, well, I've known him now for 6 or 7 years, and that he has developed into those years is obvious. We can see what he did with Southampton. He also did a great job at Leipzig, finishing second in the first season of the Bundesliga and 6th in the second year. And what he has now achieved with Southampton is just great. An excellent coach. I know his assistant coach Richard Kitzbichler very well. I met him in 2012 at Salzburg, and when Ralf was looking for a new head media analyst and an assistant coach. He contacted me at the time and asked me about Richard Kitzbichler. They've been working together now for 2 or 3 years, doing a great job, both of them, but that doesn't help. We need the 3 points tomorrow. This is what it's all about. So that was Rangnick's response to that question. This was the next question that was asked to him. Hi Ralf, just on Tuesday's performance, have you worked out how to get the best out of Ronaldo? He just seems to be in a period where he's not affecting games in the way he or you would want. So Rangnick's response was, yeah, but it's not only about Cristiano Ronaldo that he should score more goals. It's obvious. I think we're creating enough chances and opportunities in the last couple of games, but we just didn't score enough goals. But this is not only just an issue with Cristiano, it's also an issue with all the other players, especially the offensive players, that we do not score enough goals. If you bear in mind how many chances we create, this is also something that needs to get better in the next couple of weeks. But as I say, what we played in the first half and even at Burnley, I would say in 70 of those 90 minutes was very, very close to the game plan that we have spoken about before the game, and now it's about rewarding ourselves and getting all the results that we should have deserved. So that was Rangnick's response to that question. This was the next question. Hi Ralph, just wondering how the squad's looking in terms of absentees, and also there's been a lot of talk about Harry Maguire and his performance. What do you think of the displays of your captain? So this was a long response from Rangnick. Well, I think he had an outstanding game against West Ham, like all the rest of our backline against Middlesbrough. We didn't give away that many chances to the other team, and at Burnley, yes, we could have defended that transitional moment better than we did, but in the end, it was a negative chain reaction like in most goals that teams conceded. We had a brilliant counter-attack ourselves. The first pass was not the best one, but even then, it was still a 2v2 or a 3v3 situation, and we should have got more out of that. And then the rest of our defence was not really good. We should not have allowed this counter-attack to happen. We were not marking or connecting players well enough and high enough, and also we didn't transition at the end. So when they got the ball, we were 2v1 with Harry and Scotty against him, and of course we shouldn't have allowed him to go through in that very moment. But yeah, that can happen. As I said, Harry was injured. He had 2.5 weeks out with injury. Then he came back, had a very good game against West Ham, and I'm pretty sure he can perform at the same kind of level against Southampton. So that was Rangnick's response to that question. So this was the next question. There are reports that players are enjoying your training sessions, like I mentioned on my recent video, that they found them outdated, that they're calling Chris Armer's Ted Lasso behind his back. What do you make of all that? So his response was, nothing, to be honest. I haven't read any newspapers and don't know about those articles. What I can assure you, the way that the team has developed in the last couple of weeks is obvious. Tactically, and this is due to the work that we're doing in training, both on the pitch, but also if we do the video analysis with them, the training that we're doing, including all the important training games and the little games as well as the 11v11 games, a lot of rondos, a lot of those little games to increase fluidity and get better in possession of the ball. It's part of the training session. So that was Rangnick's response to that question. So this was the next question. How can you get your team to play in the second half like in the first? Is that something to work on the training ground, or your half-time message, or part of your larger game plan? So Rangnick's response was, this was a long response. Well, to start with, I think it's important, and also the players have realised that there has been good development in the last couple of weeks, both in possession and out of possession of the ball. They realised that we controlled the game, but then again, if we concede a goal against Middlesbrough, it was after 65-70 minutes. At Burnley, after 47 minutes, we should just stick to the game plan, not all of a sudden lose shape, lose composure. This was the most harmful part of it, that we just didn't stick to that game plan. All of a sudden we didn't have the same positioning on the pitch. Our 2-8s were too far aside, no longer in the centre of the pitch. I think this is what we spoke about yesterday and the day before. Then we analysed the Burnley game. This is what we have to do better. Hopefully, if we haven't having the upcoming games the same amount of opportunities, we score more than one goal. This is one issue that we have to be more effective, but at the same time, even if that does not happen, another team scores a goal, that can happen in football. We still have to be aware of why we were so dominant and why we're so much in control of the game in the first half, and then stick to 15-20 minutes. And then stick to that, not all of a sudden lose structure, lose shape. This was obvious for some, 15-20 minutes against Burnley. Sorry, nearly missed a line there. It's got better than at the end of the game, and we had more control, but in those 15 minutes we lost that shape. So that was his response to that question. Still a few more questions left yet. So this was the next question. Hi Ralf, you've now been in charge for 12 games. Has it taken longer for the squad to adapt to the way you want to play than you thought? Rangnick's response was no. I was fully aware that this will be a process and it would take some time, but as I said, apart from the last 2 games, with regard to the result of those 2 games, I think we did well. The development is obvious even in those 2 games. Had anyone told me before the game, showed me the first 2 halves, would you have thought that you could create that many chances in possession of the ball? I would have said no. I would be more than happy if those chances were as they were. Now it's about developing, taking the next step and playing on that kind of level for a longer time. If possible for the whole game, as I said in football, it's about getting the reward, getting the best result out of it, and in fact in those 2 games this is only the thing I can fault the team for. So that was Rangnick's response to that question. This is the second to last question of the press conference. So it says, hi Ralf, returning to Southampton. Manchester United's issues with set pieces is well documented, both attacking and defending. Do you think that could be key to the game tomorrow with James Ward-Prowse one of the best set piece takers in the country? Rangnick's response was yes, obviously, but we haven't conceded that many goals. As far as I know, in the last 10 weeks we've not conceded a single goal from set pieces. I thought we had scored one from a set piece at Burnley, but unfortunately it was disallowed by VAR, of course. We are also working on that and hopefully we can score ourselves from set pieces, but when you mention Ward-Prowse, I think you're referring to not conceding any goals, and the way that we have defended set pieces in last weeks and months has been good. So that was Rangnick's response to that question. This was the final question of the press conference. You say you're making progress, but you've only won half of the games you've been here for. Given the spend on this squad, are you surprised you've had to do so much to make the team competitive? You seem to be coming from quite a low base. So Rangnick's response was, that's a good question, and you have to put that question in a very smart and clever way. I know what you're aiming at, but I can only tell you what I've experienced in the last 10 weeks, and I think the results so far in the league have been okay. I would even say that they were good had we won at Burnley. And now it's about, as I said, getting also the results, not only improving with regards to the performance, but also getting the results that we should have deserved. I think we all agree that we should have deserved to win both games, but in the end, it's not about deserving. It's about what you get and what you get out of the game. That the team has developed is obvious. I speak regularly to the players about how they feel after the game and how they felt on the pitch, and I know what the players realise how much they have developed and improved their performance, especially in possession of the ball. When they control the game, as I said, now it's about taking the next step and getting the reward, and also controlling at a higher level in the second half. So that was Rangnick's response to that final question. So that was everything that was mentioned in the press conference. This game against Southampton is a must-win game for Manchester United because we need to finish in the top 4 this season. Manchester United are coming into this game against Southampton on the back of a 1-1 draw against Burnley. We was dominant in the first half against Burnley, but we weren't that good in the second half. Paul Pogba scored for Manchester United against Burnley. He had a good game. It was Pogba's first goal of the season, and it was his first Premier League appearance since October, because don't forget, Pogba was out with injury for a while. Pogba's sustained quite a few injuries since he re-signed for the club, so you can say he's injury prone. Pogba played in the cup game against Middlesbrough. He also played well in that one. Don't forget he won the penalty normal time in that game. Like I said, Manchester United had 2 goals disallowed against Burnley. Rafael Varane's goal got disallowed. Harry Maguire, though, was the culprit for Varane's disallowed goal because Harry Maguire was in an offside position. And Josh Brownhill's own goal got disallowed because Paul Pogba committed a foul in the build-up. The Josh Brownhill own goal came from Marcus Rashford's cross. Burnley's goal against Man United came from Jay Rodriguez. That was his first goal in 50 league games. And Harry Maguire was to blame for Burnley's equaliser. We have got some players out. Obviously Fred's not available at the moment because he's out with COVID. I don't rate Fred anyway. Tellez was out. I'm hearing now that Tellez has recovered. He's missed the last couple of games due to COVID. Tellez has impressed me under Rangnick. He's our first choice left back under Rangnick. Obviously there's no Eric Bailly, he's injured, but he doesn't really get in the team anyway. Tahith Chong's got an injury. And that's about it. And obviously the news on Mason Greenwood. Mason Greenwood is banned from England and Man United. He can't train or play any matches. The other week Greenwood was released on bail after his arrest. Mason Greenwood's been arrested twice, hasn't he, on suspicion of sexual assault, making threats to kill, rape and assault. Prior to the Burnley game, Mason Greenwood was dropped by Nike after his rape allegation. As for Southampton, they're coming into this game on the back of a 3-2 win against Tottenham. This fixture at Old Trafford last season between Man United and Southampton was 9-0 to Manchester United, and that was Manchester United's biggest win since the 9-0 win against Ipswich back in 1995. It was a 1-1 draw between Southampton and Man United at St Mary's earlier on in the season. Southampton have got some very good players, like I've already mentioned to you. James Ward-Prowse, he's a very good midfielder. And like I've just mentioned when I was going through the press conference, he's very good from set pieces, James Ward-Prowse. Romeu, he's also a good midfielder. Nathan Redmond, he's probably the best player Southampton have got. He missed Southampton's win against Tottenham because obviously he's injured at the moment. Armando Broja, I rate him a lot. He played in Southampton's win against Tottenham. He's just come back from a minor injury as Armando Broja. They have Stuart Armstrong as well. Adam Armstrong, Southampton got him from Blackburn. They have Shane Long. Shane Long is a former West Brom player. Che Adams. They have Theo Walcott. I think Theo Walcott was out on loan with Everton last season. Don't forget as well, Theo Walcott is a former Arsenal player. They have Valentino Livramento. That's a good defender. He's been out with injury. Got Kyle Walker-Peters. He's a good defender. William Smallbone. He's just recovered from injury. They've got Romain Perraud. He's also a good defender. They have Nathan Teller. He's out with injury. They have Jan Bednarik. He's a defender. Jack Stevens. He's a defender. Salisu. He's a defender. It is Mohamed Salisu, if I pronounce his name correctly. And the goalkeepers Southampton they've got Caballero, Fraser Forster, Harry Lewis and Alex McCarthy. He's been out of injury, is Alex McCarthy. So yeah, there are a lot of the players Southampton do have. They have lost good players as well. Don't forget they lost Vestergaard to Leicester. Danny Ings left them to join Aston Villa. They lost Charlie Austin a few years ago. He was very good when he was at Southampton, Charlie Austin. They also lost Højbjerg to Tottenham. They lost Cedric Soares to Arsenal. They had Mina Mimo last season on loan, but Mina Mimo's now back at Liverpool. Southampton also lost players like Nathaniel Klein, Dejan Lovren, Van Dijk, Adam Lallana and Mane. Them players, all went to Liverpool from Southampton. Liverpool have done very good transfer business with Southampton before. Southampton's manager, like I've said, is Ralf Hasenhüttl. Good coach, got a lot of respect for him. He's been Southampton's manager for over 3 years. Southampton appointed him in back in December 2018. He's under contract with Southampton until 2024, Hasenhüttl. He's already said, Hasenhüttl, that he will consider retiring when his contract expires at Southampton. Manchester United's next game after Southampton is Brighton. That's on Tuesday the 15th. That's a rearranged game because Man United were supposed to be playing Brighton on the 18th of December last year, but it got postponed due to COVID. And after Brighton, Manchester United play Leeds, so games are coming up thick and fast. On my previous video, I gave you the news on Cristiano Ronaldo. I said Cristiano Ronaldo's future is in doubt after he stormed down the tunnel against Burnley. Cristiano Ronaldo is planning for showdown talks with his agent about his Manchester United future. He'll leave Man United in the summer. Well, it said earlier on this season that Ronaldo will leave Man United in the summer if they fail to qualify for the Champions League, and it said that Ronaldo faces a 25% pay cut should Man United fail to qualify for the Champions League. And the other day, he said Man United are considering swapping Cristiano Ronaldo for PSG boss Mauricio Pochettino. Was it around 3-4 weeks ago? Ronaldo gave an interview, didn't he? And he was very critical of the youngsters, so reflecting on that, he was demanding more from the youngsters. And he was backing Ralf Rangnick to do a good job. Ronaldo said, I'm not a Man United to compete for 6th or 7th. He said, finishing below 3rd is unacceptable. So that's what he said. Ronaldo's been out of form recently. He hasn't scored in his last, 5 or 6 games. He's scored 14 goals in all competitions since he re-signed. He's got over 800 goals in his career. Man United re-signed Ronaldo last summer for 20 million with add-ons included, and he wears that number 7 shirt. His contract at Man United expires next year. There's an option to extend his contract for the further year. And Ronaldo receives nearly £500,000 a week, so he's the highest earner at Man United at the moment, and he's won over 30 trophies in his playing career, including 5 Ballon d'Ors. And was it this morning? I give you more news on Mauricio Pochettino. Mauricio Pochettino responded to Manchester United's interest. Pochettino still insists he's 200% focused on PSG despite Man United's interest. Now, Manchester United players want Mauricio Pochettino as next manager. The other week, Pochettino reportedly told his friends he will be leaving PSG in the summer. And it said Pochettino could be sacked by March, and Pochettino's job hinges on PSG getting to the next round of the Champions League. PSG play Real Madrid in the last 16 of the Champions League. PSG are trying to get Zidane to replace Pochettino. Pochettino has been PSG manager for over a year. I think he's won a French Cup with them. His contract at PSG expires next year. He's a good manager, Pochettino, even though he's hardly won anything. Obviously, he's proven in the Premier League, which is beneficial, because before he enjoyed a 5.5-year managerial tenure at Tottenham. Back in 2018, he got Tottenham to their first ever Champions League final. At one point, he almost won the league when he was Tottenham manager. Like I've said before, I think Tottenham made a bad mistake getting rid of him. Before Tottenham managed Southampton, only enjoyed a short managerial tenure at Southampton, but still managed to guide Southampton to their highest ever finish in the Premier League. So they're the clubs he's managed in the Premier League so far. And revert back to when Man United sacked Mourinho. Man United should have got Pochettino, but the club decided to go with Solskjaer instead. You know, there's a lot of Manchester United fans that would like to see Erik ten Hag get recommended in. And Rangnick, you know, he prefers Erik ten Hag to Mauricio Pochettino. Not so long ago, a Dutch reporter claimed that Erik ten Hag will leave Ajax at the end of the season following the departure of Mark Overmars. Erik ten Hag was upset when Mark Overmars left. Like I also updated you this morning, Luis Enrique has been added to Manchester United's managerial short list. Luis Enrique is the head coach of Spain. You know, Man United are looking for the 5th permanent manager since Ferguson retired. You know, 4 permanent managers have been sacked since Ferguson. We sacked David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, and obviously we sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer last year. You know, Rangnick, you know, he's been Man United's interim manager for over 2 months now. You know, he's Man United's interim manager till the end of the season. Then it's said that he's expected to take up a consultancy role for a further 2 years. You know, Rangnick will not get the Man United job on a permanent basis. You know, there's been good performances under Rangnick. There's also been poor performances as well. Like I've said though, you know, reflecting on them poor performances under Rangnick, he's not to blame. You know, the players have to take responsibility for those poor performances. Nothing has changed under Rangnick than what we saw under Solskjaer. You know, Rangnick has endured one transfer window as Man United's interim manager. He wasn't backed last month, and he was actually promised that he was going to be backed. You know, Man United had a disappointing January transfer window because last month we made no signings. Man United wanted to sign a midfielder because when Rangnick first came in, he identified Manchester United's midfield as a weakness. We should have let Lingard and Henderson leave last month, but we didn't because we blocked their exits. We had the incident with Mason Greenwood towards the end of the last month. But yeah, we let around 8 players leave last month. Before Manchester United, Rangnick was the head of sports and development at Lokomotiv Moscow. And like I've already said to you, Man United players are unhappy with Ralf Rangnick's training, and obviously they give a nickname to Chris Armas. Chris Armas is our assistant coach. You know, there's been a couple of reports this season saying that, you know, Rangnick is losing the Man United dressing room. In the summer of this year, I'm expecting Man United to make some signings, but on the other side of things, I'm also expecting a lot of players to depart the club in the summer. In the summer, Cavani will leave, Mata will leave, Lingard should leave, Matic should leave, there's a good chance Pogba will leave, Jones and Bailly will leave, Delon Tellez could leave, I think Harry Maguire now and Wan-Bissaka will leave, Henderson will also leave, Ronaldo will leave as well, so there you go. You know, the Glazers, they're still at Manchester United. You know, the Glazers have been one of the biggest problems at the club for a long time. They've owned Manchester United for around 16.5 years. They bought the club for 500 million back in 2005. Don't forget, revert back towards the end of last season, you know, Man United fans protested against the Glazers at the Carrington training ground and at Old Trafford because the Glazers were planning to scrap the Champions League for that European Super League. But in the end, the Glazers apologised. Well, that's what Solskjaer did mention at the time. Towards the end of last season, it said the Glazers were willing to sell Man United, but for only £4 billion. Was it at the beginning of this month, Ed Woodward stepped down, which was good from a Man United perspective because Ed Woodward was one of the biggest issues at the club for a long time. Ed Woodward was at Manchester United for around 17 years. Richard Arnold replaced Ed Woodward as the new chief executive. So there you go. But Man United should be doing much better than they have been. You know, look at how much we've spent. It said not so long ago from the Football Observatory that we've spent over 1.3 billion in 10 years and we've won just 4 trophies in 10 years. But Man United have recouped around 397 million in sales. So there, and you know, we haven't won a trophy since 2017, that's 5 years ago now. Nowhere near good enough to our standards. We haven't won the Premier League since 2013. So yeah. So anyway guys, that's everything to update you with. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again very, very soon. I'll tell you my channel name again. It is Red Devil 24. So drop a like on the video, or if you do, consider even subscribe.